Hello and welcome back to another ProGuides video. If you haven't seen our latest video, be sure to click that one first as our newly updated champions tier list was just released. After you see that one, you may think, wow, some of these units do seem really strong and must be an easy win. Well, that is untrue, as it is not enough to simply buy the strongest units and hope for the best. You have to make sure that the right items, the best synergies, and position is good too. We're here to provide you with a beginner's guide on every S-tier champion. But before we begin, make sure you click on our link below at ProGuides.com to receive the newest guides, updates, and tutorials regarding TFT. We cover many different types of games to get you to a higher elo, so sign up today. Now, without any further ado, our S-tier champions consisted of ASHE, DRAVEN, AURELION, Sol, Brand, Kennen, GNAR, Shyvana, Swain, Sejuani, Kassadin, and Pantheon. So first up is ASHE. She's been incredibly strong after the 9.17 buff, and Rangers is one of the top comps to go for. So her ideal composition revolves around the synergies of Rangers and Glacials, while other complementary synergies are Demons, Elementalists, Knights, and Guardians. 4 Glacials is recommended in order to optimize ASHE's chances to stun. As for Rangers, using all 4 is still in the meta, but since Vayne is a fairly weak early character, 2 or 3 Rangers is just as efficient. Normally, a Rangers build is reliant on a race to see whoever is able to get level 2 on her first, along with finding a Sejuani to tank for her, and a Kindred to protect her. Although items can always differ depending on the game, the ideal items to build on her is Guinsoo's Rageblade, Runaan's Hurricane, and Static Shiv. With how popular Void Assassins are, Rapid Fire Cannon is also a great option in order to protect her position in the corner. The idea of these items is to get ASHE hitting quicker than ever so that she can stun many targets. Runaan's Hurricane does proc on hit effects, allowing her to stun an additional target. For positioning, always have Kindred right besides ASHE in order to protect her from any type of damage. Corner positionings are normally the best, surrounded by units. If you notice that enemies have assassins or pantheons that are able to reach her, then put her in the middle of the units and surround her with some guardians. Speaking of hyper carries, another similar strategy that most people use is by having DRAVEN as the sole killer. Ideal compositions with him is to pair him with one other Imperial and then Blade Masters. The additional hits and the potential 50% chance to double his damage makes him a beast in the battlefield. But honestly, DRAVEN by himself is such a monster that if you have the right items, you can simply put him and Darius into a Nobles composition and have him wreak havoc there too. Like ASHE, his items revolve around RFC and Runaan's Hurricane as well. However, he's not meant for CC like her, but instead, these items provide him a much safer positioning while dealing twice as much damage. The third item for DRAVEN would be a Bloodthirster. Even though it does get countered by Morrocrux, DRAVEN will be hitting so quick that he would still be benefiting from the lifesteal. Guardian Angels is another great defensive item, or Infinite Edge if you want to go for an even more aggressive approach with the damage. Positions would be to make sure he always stays away from CC units. It's common in a Blade Master's composition to simply spread out your units, so simply put him anywhere alongside the back line and gauge where your enemy's CC and strongest assassins are. As long as he's not frozen or stunned, he'll destroy the entire team. That's it for the units that rely mainly on their basic attacks. Time to talk about the ability-based S-tier champions. Up next is Aurelion Sol, everyone's favorite sorcerer that is highly competed over. His ideal composition is simply running 3 sorcerers and then pairing it either with shapeshifters, guardians, dragons, or elementalists. 3 sorcerers leaves a lot of room to make for many different compositions, so it's not simply these 4 that we've named. However, he does truly shine with a dragon/shapeshifters composition to make Shyvana incredibly tanky. On the other hand, all elementalists will benefit greatly from the sorcerer's buff with the additional spell damage. For items, you definitely want Morrocrux or Aurelion, as his ability radius is so large. With sorcerers, they do gain double mana on each hit, so put a Seraph's Embrace and Guinsoo's Rageblade on him to get him to ult immediately and frequently. Positions are similar to ASHE, as he is the hyper carry of any sorcerer's composition. Put him in a corner as far away from the damage as possible. So speaking of elementalists that go great with sorcerers, up next is Kennen and Brand. Let's talk about Kennen first. Kennen provides the best CC in the game, stunning the majority of the enemy's team. His ideal composition involves elementalist and sorcerers, but honestly, if you have the right items, you can just throw him either early or late game just for his ability. Kennen by himself doesn't shine too strongly as he may die too quickly without ulting. However, moving on to items, the second you put a Guardian Angel on him is when he receives a large power spike. The GA will most likely guarantee his ultimate to go off, providing the full stun and damage. Even if he was hushed and then died early, the enemies will switch targets, allowing Kennen to ult when he revives. It's one of the most essential items on him. Along with that, MorrowNomicon to provide additional damage and anti-healing for his large ult radius is also crucial. The third best item for him would be Darken. As mentioned before, Elementalist pairs great with many other compositions. As Brand is already a demon, giving Darken to Kennen is an extremely strong power boost to get the additional synergy while giving him an extra mana to ult quicker. For positions, you definitely want to put him in the front where most of the enemies are located. However, if you notice there are demons or Hush equipped units, then you may want to put him in the second row or corner spot to avoid being targeted by them. On to our next S-tier Elementalist, Brand. Similar to the other two, the ideal compositions for Brand are Elementalists, Demons, and Sorcerers. Being an epic, Brand creates a power spike in your mid to late game transition as he fulfills many crucial synergies once added in. Brand's item set is identical to Aurelion's Soul, with Guinsoo's Rageblade, Seraph's Embrace, and MorrowNomicon for maximum damage output. For positions, also put him towards the back and surround him with units if you do not want the Golem to spawn behind him. Moving on to our S-tier Shapeshifters. After the buffs in 9.17, they have remained top of the synergies list and have been known to destroy. Let's begin with the tankiest unit of them all, GNAR. GNAR is not only one of the highest health tanks when he transforms, but he also provides one of the top CC in the game. His ideal composition is obviously Shapeshifters and pairing it with Demons, Elementals, and or 3 Yordles as well. Having him and Kennen in the same team can prove to be massive, as GNAR will knock all the enemies out of their position and most of the time perfectly into Kennen's stun. The 30% dodge also proves a lot more useful than you think in keeping GNAR alive. As he is already such a great frontliner, the ideal items on him is to make him a super tank with Dragon Claw, Warmog, and Static Shiv. Warmog is a great item on Shapeshifters, as they receive 60% to 120% bonus health of their maximum HP when they transform. Give him a Dragon Claw to make him unkillable, and then a Static Shiv so he can damage all units and transform quicker. Positioning is to definitely put him in the front line so that he can ult as quickly as possible. Unless he's still at level 1, which you may want to put him in the second row so he doesn't instantly die. Beware though of Hush and Demons units that will stop him from transforming. Always try to position him away from those units. After talking about the greatest tank in Shapeshifters, it's time to talk about the powerhouse, Shyvana. Shyvana is severely weak at level 1, so it's pretty crucial that you get her to level 2 as soon as possible. Her ideal compositions are the same as GNAR, except she makes it super easy to add Dragon into the composition as well. Her Dragon buff will already provide her the magic resist needed, so for items, Dragon Claw will not be needed. Instead, have the Warmog that's perfect for Shapeshifters, and also a Guinsoo's Rageblade and Hextech Gunblade. This will allow her to deal out massive damage while sustaining herself through her basic attacks. For positions, she would transform fairly quickly even without being the main tank of the team. Guinsoo's Rageblade will guarantee that for you. Leave the tanking job to GNAR and have Shyvana still in the front line, but to the side where she's not the main focus of the enemy's team. Last of our S-tier Shapeshifters is our legendary unit, Swain. With Swain, he makes a perfect fit for an Imperial build with DRAVEN, our other hyper carry. Just the two of them and the right items can destroy a whole team by themselves. Being both a demon and Shapeshifters, he becomes the final key in unlocking one of the strongest comps there are. Unlike the other Shapeshifters, Swain has a sustainability ability built into his kit, so for items, he does not need Warmogs as much as the others. Instead, we want to make sure he has Guardian Angels and Dragon Claw as his defensive items to protect him while he heals up from any damage during his ultimate. Swain by himself does a lot of damage towards the units around him, so for extra damage, the third item would be to have a MorrowNomicon. If you can't find all these ideal items though, some great alternatives would be Seraphs and Shojin to get him to his regenerative form quicker. As for positions, Swain excels in the front line when he has a GA, allowing his ability to hit multiple enemies. Next up are our super tanks, beginning with Sejuani. Sejuani is most commonly used in a Ranger's composition to protect ASHE, but is an incredibly strong unit on her own. She can also be included in a 6 Knights build to beef up the tankiness of your composition. Items for her include the classics for tanks, which are Guardian Angel and Dragon Claw. Sejuani's ultimate does hit multiple targets, so MorrowNomicon is a great choice, but Spear of Shojin could also be used on her to get her ultimate to go off twice in combat. For positions, you definitely want her in front of the majority of the enemies and using her ability as quickly as possible. For our other super tank, it's Pantheon. Since Pantheon is a legendary, we normally don't risk an entire composition trying to find him. However, his synergies, Dragon, and Guardians makes it fairly easy to transition to just put him in any comp to boost up the defense. He shines in a Sorcerer's comp since Aurelion is already part of it, making it simple to add just one additional unit. Items that are great for Pantheon is Frozen Heart, Warmogs, and Thornmail. For positions, his kit and items make him a great frontline tank that can slow down the attacks of every enemy. And that's all for today. With so many factors in TFT, it's crucial to remember that it's not just champions or just items or just synergies. It's everything combined in order to get to the top 4. Let us know how you're enjoying the patch so far and what you want to see from us next. As always, we read each and every one of your comments. Our channel is so close to 5,000 subs, so be sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.